Right now, there is a $4.1 trillion economy hiding in plain sight within the United States. If it were a standalone nation, it would be the fifth largest GDP on Earth. But for you, it's not just statistics. It's your next promotion, it's your next big client, and your ultimate career edge. Welcome to Astroweather Celestial Clockwork. I'm your host, Laura Francesca, and today we're breaking down the massive demand for the Spanish language in the United States workforce. We're moving beyond knowing a second language and looking at how bilingualism is becoming the most valuable currency in the modern American economy. So let's get started. Hi, this is Laura Francesca. And so in this podcast, I'm going to be talking about a fascinating topic here. And I believe I've talked about this before, but those that have not heard me talk or have not heard about this information, I think this is valuable information for anybody, whether you're in the workforce, whether you're looking for a job, whether you're trying to start a business for yourself. I think it's very important that people understand that the second language, which is Spanish, that is very high in demand in the United States. That they know this information. Okay, so let's go over some. I'm just drinking some lemon water here. Let's go over some statistics, okay? So, how does the demand for specific languages influence earning potential? The demand for specific languages can significantly influence earning potential. Several factors contribute to how language demand impacts salaries and job opportunities, including the global economy, cultural trends, migration patterns, and industry requirements. So here's 5 ways languages can contribute to higher salaries and better business relations. Okay, so here's a breakdown and how this works. Globalization, okay, international business. As companies expand globally, the need for employees who can communicate with clients, partners, and customers different languages increases. Languages that are essential for international commerce, such as Spanish and French, can lead to higher salaries for bilingual professionals. Cross border collaboration. Companies often require employees who can navigate multiple cultures and languages, increasing the value of bilingual speakers. Number 2, industry specific demand. Healthcare. In healthcare settings, being bilingual in languages is prevalent in patient demographics. E.g., Spanish in the United States can lead to higher salaries due to the need for clear communication between providers and patients. Finance and banking. Bilingual employees can help finance and banking firms reach clients in emerging markets, while proficient in languages like Spanish can be exceptionally lucrative in dealings with Latino GDP businesses now currently at 4.1 trillion nationwide in the United States alone. Just in the United States, okay? Technology. The tech industry's focus on global reach creates a demand for bilingual workers, especially in customer support, development, and marketing roles. Knowledge of languages such as Portuguese can enhance job prospects in regions with booming tech sectors. Okay. And the reason I say Portuguese is because there is this new found of tech when it comes to Portuguese, that they are a little bit more advanced, and also India, like Hindi. They're a little bit more advanced when it comes to technology, and I feel that Hindi has to do a lot with Vedic astrology. They are outperforming because they do have strong Earth, okay, in Vedic. They just started there with Pluto in Capricorn, and we got off Pluto in Capricorn, thank God. And we have Pluto in Aquarius that has to do with technology, but for Vedic astrology, since they just started with Pluto and Capricorn there, it's a little bit different in Vedic because it's more professional than Western astrology. They have to take it really serious, and they have to get educated. So a lot of people in India, they have to be very professional, very educated, and this is why they're more advanced. Even though you would think Aquarius, right, because it rules technology, but Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so there's where you really hit the books, you really get that class, and it might take a long time also, but you're more proficient and then other people with in Western, which has Pluto in Aquarius for us, right? And it's not saying that they're smarter, it's just that they have to put more work, okay? So they have to work harder and we work smarter, right? But they also have to work smart as well, not just, like the whole industrial revolution for us is over, and for them, it's like, if you notice, I've seen some videos in India where they had their workers like slaving away, like working really hard, like in the fields in India, and they worked them out really hard. And I was like, wow, that's Pluto in Capricorn, So, it's different just in different regions, and how astrology works over there in India. And I feel this is why they're a little bit more advanced when it comes to technology, because they're studying. They know things that we don't. I believe Google is owned by India, right? They own a lot of tech companies. So, number three, cultural trends and migration. Growing populations, where languages are spoken by growing populations in specific regions, can increase demand. For example, Spanish has been seen increased demand in the United States due to the large Hispanic population. Refugee and immigration trends. As people migrate, the demand for language services, including translation and interpretation, rises. This can create job opportunities for speakers of languages spoken by newly settled communities. Number four, language specific factors. We also have regional demand variations, okay? Localized markets in areas with a high concentration of speakers of a particular language, such as Spanish, in parts of the United States. Workers who can speak that language may have better job prospects and higher salaries. There's a competitive advantage to that, okay? In regions where certain languages are essential for business, being bilingual in that language can set candidates apart, leading to higher wage offers. To sum up the current breakdown, the influence of language demand on earning potential is complex, involving regional, industry specific, and economic factors. Bilingual professionals who can communicate in highly sought after languages are often rewarded with better job opportunities and higher salaries. As globalization continues, the trends in language demand are likely to evolve, making language skills increasingly valuable in the job market. Understanding the large demographic within the Spanish language and the demand at stake contributing the United States is a key factor for growth, innovation, expansion, and collaboration. And so I am podcasting here about these statistics and how they impact our business, our daily lives, our decisions. And I think it's very important that people know these statistics because, you know, when it comes to astrology, and I don't care what they say, oh, the MAGA and politics, and you can never make the United States all American. You just simply cannot. We are all diverse. We all come from different countries. And it's saying, if you want all the Hispanics out of here, then that means that you would need to get all the blacks out of here too. That means that you would have to get all the Asians out of here too. That means you would have to get all the Indian people out of here too. It's impossible. The United States, okay, was built on diversity. Okay. It was built on love by the founding fathers. And so all this drama propaganda with the whole eyes is ridiculous. Okay. And that needs to stop. It needs to stop because it's racist, because it's tragic, and it is against the law. You cannot be doing that. You just simply cannot. And like I said, if it's going to be done to Hispanics, then it's going to be done to blacks as well. Okay, this is why I feel that God is bringing this curse into a lot of states like New York, Chicago, what is it, Texas, in some parts of Texas. And I do feel that this is the hand of God. I did predict that the hand of God this year, we were going to see it. And we were going to see it on these leaders that are not being good leaders. Okay, I'm almost ending my Proverbs book of King Solomon. I'm actually going to read tonight chapter 29. Oh, it's 9:02. It's not that late. Okay. And so I'm on chapter 29 and it goes up to 31 chapters. And specifically right now is talking about leadership and not to put no fool on the stage. Okay. And not listening to fools either and not responding to fools. Okay. And so it's very much, it is very much Saturnian, very much about wisdom with King Solomon. And it could be a little bit masculine, but I was recommended many years ago, I think when I was in network marketing, and it was from a Christian coach, and she did this every year. And she said, you read the Proverbs, just for a whole month, one chapter every day, and your business is going to thrive. Your business is going to grow. I've had my business go up and down, like a roller coaster. But, and I'm not saying I became a millionaire because I've done it already for the past 15 years. But, what it has made me is more wise. So every year that, I read it, it gets familiar, like, oh yeah, I already know this scripture and I already know this, it has made me more wise. Okay. I did some changes because things that I read in the Proverbs, I was like, wow, I was doing this. I'm not going to do that anymore. And so it has really helped me as a person to grow and to be respected as a leader, because there's no leadership. Where is the leadership? And so we're getting judged. We're under judgment by God. And if we don't do the right thing as leaders and we stop this whole ICE propaganda, that we know it's a propaganda because it was a cover up. So we will get distracted over the real issue that is really going on with a lot of these pedophile leaders that are not taking accountability. This is what's going on. It's a cover up. So it's making us get distracted over the real issue, that everybody's on that list in Hollywood. Every politician, every actor, every celebrity, every doctor, every physician. I mean, if you were in that circle, you're on that list. And I don't want to get into that. This is not what the podcast is about. Okay, this was about the GDP and the importance of the Spanish language. And when it comes to the astrology, with Uranus in Gemini and Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries that are already entered, and we have Pluto in Aquarius that also has to do with travel. There's going to be a lot of people moving back and forth, back and forth. They're going to be moving from state to state, country to country. A lot of people are going to be moving, believe me. They're going to be traveling. They're going to be moving. They're going to be relocating. We're going to have to deal a lot with, it's not going to be MAGA. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not. Okay, because these planets, Uranus and Gemini, first of all, it has to do with moving. Okay, it has to do with movement. It has to do with business as well, ruled by Mercury. And then we got Pluto in Aquarius. That also has to do with airplanes. And it has to do, what are they doing at the LAX? They're improving it, right? They're making it like much more bigger, more luxurious. There's going to be a lot of traveling. Okay. And then not only that, but we're also entering the North Node in Aquarius. Okay. Where it's hungry. And when I talk about hungry, I'm talking about there's a lot of action going on. Okay, that's where the green light is. That's where the happiness is. That's where it's foreign. That's where you have to take leaps and take jumps. And there's going to be a lot of traveling there. Okay. So we're not having none of this border stuff. There's a lot of traveling that's going to be going on. And, and then we got Saturn and Neptune that's, it's going to conjunct in Aries that has to do with travel again. So Gemini is traveling, Aries is traveling, Aquarius is traveling. It's going to be a lot of travel, a lot to deal with countries, a lot of movements, a lot of people just moving to another location, relocating a lot. Our neighbors are not going to be our same neighbors that we've always lived with. They're going to be neighbors that just moved here from Texas, just moved in here from New York. You're like, oh man, I can't believe my neighbor's from New York. It's going to be like that. And, here in the location where I live in San Pedro, California, it's very, well, here in our area, our location is very Latino. But you go in downtown and it's a little bit more diverse. You see some kind of Italians, Latinos, of course, some blacks. So it's getting very, very diverse in downtown San Pedro, and a lot of it has to do because they're building this multi-million waterfront, right? That's like tourism and all that stuff. So, but I feel we're going to start seeing more people moving, like from Texas, moving from a lot of it because of the entertainment and what's happening down there in the waterfront. But that's going to be the normal. And right now it doesn't feel normal. That's kind of odd for us, to have people from Texas or New York to move down here. It's very odd. But it's going to just get very normalized, where it's going to be just feel normal. That's just, that's because of the astrology. Okay. A lot of people are moving around. They're trying to find a more affordable place. They're trying to, things are just not working out. Maybe, you go to New York and it's very icy. Unless you're a hardcore New Yorker, then you're going to stick around, But other than that, you might want to go move to California where it's more sunny, right? There's no ice or nothing like that. Literally, right? Or Chicago, people moving from Chicago too. It's all ice, right? And so I don't know the irony, and right now is 9:09, okay? 9:09, 99, okay? That's an ending, okay? That is a sign, 9:09 p.m. And so that is an ending. Something has to come to an end, okay? So anyway, just wanted to just talk a little bit about this data, about knowing Spanish and how important it is, and we're just growing and growing. I mean, we're at 4.1 trillion, And so if you don't use the Spanish language, if you're not using it in your business, you're losing out money on the table. I'm using it in Spanish for the podcast, and I only wanted to do it for the United States, but apparently I'm attracting people in other countries. When I had my other podcast at Swellcast, I was looking at the algorithms as well. And there were a lot of other countries that were following me, like Argentina, just Latin America, Venezuela, like Mexico, of course, but a lot of Brazil, a lot of countries, Latin American countries, that were following me, that were listening to the Spanish podcast. And my podcast, the numbers grew more faster because I was podcasting in Spanish. And I noticed that, I was looking at the algorithms, and I was seeing, how I was like, oh wow, it's already, it reached another 1,000, and so I didn't have it for that long. I think I had it for 2 years, and I had like about 33,000 views. But it's different there because it was more like a very small app. It was like a business, a family business. It was not very corporate, and so it was not like Spotify, or Podbean or anything like that. It was just more mom and pop little type of. They wanted to try it out, um, and so apparently they lost money according to them. But you know, it was my practice, I enjoyed it and everything. But I was looking at the algorithms, and I was noticing, I did get about 33,000 views in Spanish and in English, but I noticed that it would raise like higher when I just communicated in Spanish. And so I even have family members that they do listen to me in Mexico, and there was a lot of people listening to it, and I'm very proud, that I was able to use both languages, even though I'm born here in the United States, but my parents are from Mexico. And but it was also training on my Spanish because I don't really use it, and I want to use it professionally. And some say that I speak more professional in Spanish than English, by the way. But anyway, yeah. So I'm just excited that I'm going to but I'm also going to be talking in. Honestly, I was going to say Spotify. I don't know why. Spotify was coming out of my mouth, and so I'm just excited that I'm going to be talking Spanish as well. I already did like I think 2 episodes or 1 or 2 episodes in Spanish, but I'm going to continue it, because it's very important that people, even though they know English, I think what happens when you know Spanish and somebody else knows Spanish, there's a connection. Okay, there's a connection. It's like, for instance, I mentioned this before, that there's this little deli here where I live. It's an Italian deli, okay, and they serve some really good sandwiches there. They have like the whole butcher and all, they do the sandwiches there. And every time I go in there, they never speak Spanish. I mean, they never speak English. All they do is speak Italian. So even though they know English, you know what I mean? And so if when they connect with someone else that also is Italian, like let's say a grandma that was from Italy, she's there buying some ham and some cheese, right? Because it's an Italian deli. All they serve is just Italian food. And but they sell really good sandwiches, right? And I noticed that there was this old grandma. She was like from Italy, from the community, and the I guess the cash register, he's Italian as well. And they both were talking in Italian language. And I was like, that's interesting because, she knows a little bit English and he knows a lot of English, but they both were talking in Italian language, which is very, very familiar to the Spanish language. It's very close. Um, and so I was able to tell a little bit about what they were talking about, the food and stuff. Not that I was being nosy, but I was just there in line, ready to pay for my sandwich. But that is what happens when you know Spanish and somebody else knows Spanish. There's a connection that happens. Okay, there's a connection. There's like, oh, okay, I see you. You see me. And that is what happens, and you build connections from there, and so if you do know Spanish, never forget your Spanish, because you can use it and you can make double money, not only from your English language but also from your Spanish language. And so I'm very proud to be able to use my Spanish language as a Mexican that I am. Both of my parents are from Mexico. They're legally here, and I'm a U.S. citizen here. So, I have the ability to make a difference here, and I'm very proud to do that. So, hope everybody is having a great night. I'm gonna leave now because I do have to jump into my chapter 29 and my Proverbs book, and then hit the hay because tomorrow is another day. Hope everybody's having a great time, a great night, and I will talk to you guys soon. Goodbye.